We've been talking all week about finishing strong, which is so important as we enter the fourth quarter of the calendar year. Yes, the fourth quarter of the calendar year. It started October 1st. How are you doing with that? Today, we're going to talk about taking the first step. And I'm pretty sure Tom's going to coach me through a little first step thing that I'm having some trouble with. So look for that and more. And on today's Antidote, whoops, forgot the words.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Tom, I lost the last part of that. I was working so hard to think of the right words that I couldn't remember the right words. How crazy is that?
You didn't have to tell people that. You could have just gone on and we'd figured it out.
Yeah, it's just transparency or something.
I understand.
How are you?
How are you doing this morning?
Got a little issue got worked through, as I told you before the program. So we've got that coming up.
Okay. We can work through that. That's what it's all about, right?
I thought it was what is it? The song, the Hokey Pokey? Right foot, left foot. That's what it's all about. No? Okay. Sorry.
No, I have no idea where that came from, which is a great reason for me to go into this. Is welcome, everyone, and good morning.
Please.
To today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast. As we do each weekday morning, we have a discussion around a topic. As Bob said, our topic is finishing strong. Today, we'll talk about what's the first step, figuring out the first step, because that sometimes is the most difficult, most challenging thing to do when you're trying to figure out what to do next, whether it's finishing strong or just about anything else. And as we go through that conversation, if you have thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share, please feel free to share them in the comments for whatever social media you happen to be following us on, whether that is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
Yes, LinkedIn Live, baby. That's going to become a thing. We're going to say this so much. Somehow that's going to catch on and become a thing.
That would be so much fun.
It would be something, that's for sure.
I would love for LinkedIn to come buy that domain from me for $10,000.
Before they come and say,
don't say the word baby after our name ever again.
That's right. So as we go through our conversation, if you have thoughts and ideas you'd like to share, please feel free to do them. We know that has an impact not only on what we believe, but also what others may take away from the conversation. And then at the end of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you today, or maybe somewhere down the line when you're stuck, figure out how to take that next step along your own unique pathway to success. And so, of course, if you have a one thing you'd like to share, your antidote, please feel free to share that in the comments as well, because we know it might be just what someone else is desperately seeking for. And you might have the solution to the challenges they face. So please feel free to share your value. Before we get to the conversation, though, we always start the morning off with celebrations. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm a day late on this one. Yesterday was World Teachers Day. And I get to spend a lot of time with a teacher, and I've learned a lot about education. And I've taught school, college for years and high school for a year, but I'm learning a lot more about education these days. I also was thinking last week, I was talking to a former student of mine, someone I taught high school to in 1996. This person's gone on to become a doctor, and she is actually the pediatrician for two of my niece, a niece and a nephew. And she sent me a note last week. I was telling her how proud I was of her because she's doing some things in the community. They're really great. And her response to me was, I something to the effect of, you made a real difference in my life. I wouldn't be where I am without you. And I don't think there's anything that makes me feel better, which, by the way, Tom, to our discussion after the program yesterday, yes, I see it. So if you had a teacher that made a difference in your life and you can track that person down And in this technology-filled age where you can go LinkedIn, where you can go Facebook's, where you can find email addresses, where you can look up phone numbers with the reverse phone number directory or whatever, where you can call the school and say, hey, I'm trying to get a note to Mrs. McGillicuddy. Would you be able to forward a note to her, or can you give me an address, whatever? It really makes a difference for teachers. It is the most powerful tool to make them do a really difficult job. This person I get to spend a lot of time with has a note on her wall from one of the parents of one of her kids. And that note means so much to her. And it just, I can't say it enough. If you, any teacher that made a difference, and I think we all have that one teacher that made a difference, or maybe it's a coach, or it could be a business mentor, a boss somewhere along the way, someone, but I can tell you, it really inspires those people to keep doing really tough work. So that's my pitch and plea for today on a day late on World Teachers Day.
I like it.
Thank you.
It's interesting as you were talking about that. I was thinking about all the teachers that had, I felt like I had many who had an impact on me. And sadly, I think most of them are deceased. That's how old I am, I guess.
Well, I will tell you, when my father died, some of his former students came to the viewing and talked to me about my father's impact. And it was really, you know, I knew my father was a teacher and he went and did his thing, but I didn't know he had an impact. And to hear people say, yeah, your father taught me this, and I went on to do drama because of it, or your father helped me in this. So it's not, it probably wouldn't be lost on family members, because teachers tend to come home in the evening and grade papers. They tend to have PTA nights. You know, there are times when the family gets put to the side. I can say that as a son of teachers, that, you know, and so understanding the role that person had. So maybe it's reaching out to their children or the spouse.
Sure. No,
and also, I think the more we can help people understand their impact in our world, the more the people having the impact can go do it, because it can be very lonely. Teaching, I taught high school for a year. I felt like I was in a forest with no one for miles. You're doing what you think is right. You're trying to help kids, and you don't see the results of your work sometimes until decades later.
Sure.
And it's often the person that you least expect to take the lesson, because they're just like, I don't want to do this. You're stupid. I don't like it. They tend to be the ones that later go, you know, I really learned a lot in your class. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, it's interesting because I have two children who are both teachers. Actually, three. Our daughter teaches horseback riding lessons. So, I mean, that's still, she's teaching. So I think that's, so I hadn't, and I would imagine, because, you know, obviously I know them a little bit, they were impacted, and I think, by their teachers. And I think they felt the value that the teacher provided. And I'm sure that had some influence into why they went into the field that they went into. So interesting.
And Tom Stevens tracking with us. He reached out to his old journalism teacher at Baylor over LinkedIn and wrote her a nice little message. And just to talk about our group a little bit, I didn't know that Stephen was a journalism school person. I'm a journalism school person. So through this discussion, I now have something to talk to Stephen about that I didn't know. And that's one of the things we're trying to do with our Ring of Renegades Facebook group and our LinkedIn Renegade Success Network for Leaders group, is bring people together so that they can say things like that. And suddenly you have a common interest, and it builds that bond that causes us to know, like, and trust someone. And that's part of networking.
Absolutely. Great.
I thought you'd like that.
National Teachers
Day. World Teachers Day. And we're all teachers, right?
Yes.
We just don't know the students we affect.
If we are willing to share the value we have.
Yes.
Nice setup. Thanks.
And what are you celebrating, Tom, today? I took a long time with that. I hope you don't mind.
So what I'm celebrating is a step that was slow not painful. I shouldn't say that. It was just slow for me to take, is that Liz and I like to bike. My wife, Liz, and I like to bike. And we've been stuffing bikes in cars, and we had an old whatever. And so finally yesterday, I got off my tail and did one of the things that I wanted to do, and got a trailer
You
hitch.
got hitched with Liz.
I saw what you did there.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, more than I can imagine.
I
didn't even think of it yesterday when you were telling me about it. That's what drives me crazy.
Well,
Getting old.
So anyhow, it was a step that I wasn't sure where to go or what to do and figure out where's the best price and all that. And I think sometimes with me, when those things happen, I end up putting them off. So I just was like, you know what? I just need to do this. And I did it. And so I'm going to celebrate the fact that I did it. Not that, it is what it is. And, as I was doing it, I'm like, oh yeah, great timing was the late fall and winter are approaching. And you know what? That's it. Next step is now we got to get the carrier for our bikes.
The thing that goes into the hitch.
Correct.
Are you going to be one of those Thule guys, or are you going Shimano, or?
I don't know. We were looking at them the other day. Definitely one where the bikes stand up.
Okay. Yeah, we should talk about that. I have some knowledge in this area.
You do?
Yes, I do. I've
we talked to the people at REI. Do you have more knowledge than them?
No, different knowledge though.
Steven has a comment. He says, you don't wear those biking tights, do you? I do not. That's a great comment, Steven. Thank you for that. I do not. No one wants to see that. And I have no desire to.
Do you wear the biking jersey? Because I understand that if you wear the biking jerseys like you're in the Tour de France, you go a whole lot faster.
Wind drag or something.
And if someone hears this, she's going to give me a really hard time. I'm just.
No, I do not wear the biking shirt either. So
Okay.
Anyhow, enough of that. All right, let's move on to our conversation today, where we're talking about finishing strong. And I think we've had an interesting conversation this week around it. And I think, I really liked yesterday's conversation. It was a little different for us. Usually it's not a question that we are asking. Usually our topic is usually a statement. And yesterday it was, we talked about, does it matter? Typically we say why it matters. We asked about, does it really matter that you finish strong? And I thought it was a really good conversation. And so if you are trying to figure out how to finish strong, that might be a good conversation episode to go back and listen to. I also think about, Tuesday's episodes, where we really talked a little bit about, in some ways, the value it has. And so I would encourage you to go back and listen to both of those episodes. I think they're good, especially if you're trying to figure out the value of or how you can finish strong. And hopefully today we'll be able to help you figure out about the first step. So Bob, do you have some thoughts you want to share? I know there's something on your mind that you want us to talk about.
I'm going to ask you to coach me this morning, which I don't think I've ever done. I've been coached by you on the program, but I don't think I've ever overtly asked you. So
I'm not sure you've maybe. I mean, we have done 682 episodes. So there might have been another time in that time frame that you said, hey, could you walk me through this?
So I have this person I deal with routinely. And we had a text message discussion yesterday. And this person was looking for, I'm not sure what they were looking for, frankly. I kind of thought I knew, but I was concerned about it. And the topic was a sensitive topic. And the discussion went for a little while and then it ended. And then this morning, it got picked back up again. And this morning, the feedback to me was, you didn't give me what I needed.
Okay.
And I think this happens all the time. I've had it happen with employees that have been working with me. I've gone to my boss and said, I'm so frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm just blurting out stuff and they don't know how to help me. It's like, do you just want me to listen to you? Do you want me to solve your problem? Do you want me to take you out for lunch so you can get away for an hour? Do you want me to give you the afternoon off so you can clear your head? Do you want to work from home? I mean, there are a lot of things in our toolbox that we can offer a person. but it starts with the idea of finding out what the person needs, which is the first step. And so I was hoping you could coach me on how to get to a place where you can find out sooner what that person needs from you. How did I do with that? Was that clear?
Yes. I mean, part of me says you had some of your own answers inside of that if you were to go back and listen to it. I think.
Okay, I don't know what I was just trying to compress a complicated situation into 2 minutes. So
sure. Well, I think what the thing was, and I think we do this regularly. So what did you just do there?
Say, isn't it? Regularly.
What did you just do there?
Which there?
When you were sharing those thoughts and ideas, what were you telling me?
I was conveying to you a situation and my perspective on it. Right?
Correct. What else did you offer?
You've got me.
You talked about, well, I could do this or I could do that, or maybe they need this or maybe they need that. So
right.
you talked about all the things that you thought you might be able to do for them.
Okay. Yes. I agree with that.
And I think that's typically, as a leader, mentor, teacher, that's where we go to. What are all the tools in my toolkit that I have to share with them?
And I'm comfortable sharing, right?
And I'm comfortable sharing. And so did you choose one of them yesterday during the conversation?
I chose the one that seems safest, which was to just listen.
Okay. And
because I was worried that if I tried to problem solve, I would fall into a trap. The trap of you're always trying to just solve problems.
And so whose perspective was that? that was the choice to make?
Mine.
Okay.
And
did you ever ask?
Based on historic information that's in my head, not probably in reality.
So based on past actions and the results that you got then.
This is going to be one of these days, Tom.
Well, we all do it.
If you're on the podcast, what I just did was ran both hands through my hair at the same time. The tell for me is if I run my finger through my hair, that usually means that I'm getting uncomfortable.
And he's done, and he wants to move on. So I'm not sure we still.
So this has been a great show. What's your one thing, Bob?
Well, I think that's so often. That's what else do we have the ability to do it on? We based it on past things and past results. So we look at what have we done in the past, what were the results we got, and make assumptions of what we should do next. Correct? Or we make choices. I guess the choices, assumptions is whatever. Well, and then we choose to do that, which is what you did. Fair?
And the past experiences based on interacting with other people. Not
with this person.
Not with this person.
Fair. Okay. Interesting.
I set you up now.
So as you think about that.
Can't even talk about this.
What might you have done differently as you look at it?
Well, I think one thing is to ask the question, what are you looking for? But it's hard when someone's in their feelings.
Of course.
And they're upset.
Of course.
And I thought about asking that question, but it felt like it was going to build more of a wall than I think that if I'm sharing with you, Tom, I'm really frustrated by this, and you go, hold on, Bob, just a second. What do you need from me? It kind of distances it, right?
Yeah. Why would you ask that question?
I don't even know what question I would ask, how I would ask that question. I mean, the real question in my head is, what do you need from me right now on this thing? Do you need me to listen here? Do you want whiteboard solutions? Do you want to
think about that question the way you asked it?
Okay. I don't remember what I said specifically.
What do you need from me? What does that
Well,
imply?
you would change it. What do you want from me? Because you don't like need.
I would change it to how can I help?
Okay.
Or can I help?
Right.
And because now, what do you need from me is like, okay, I have all the answers. Fair?
Yes.
And if I have all the answers, I presuppose
I
that
see the trap I've fallen into before. That's good.
That's what we do. When people come to us, they think they need something from us. They think, yes. When someone comes to us, comes to me, let's say,
as their supervisor, as their mentor, as a friend, or whatever it would be.
Correct.
Or
the
even
first
in
thought
your personal
is,
life, right? As your
sure,
spouse.
of course. Yeah. They come to like, why are they coming to me? Must be I have something they need. Maybe they don't need anything. Because what they need might be someone just to listen.
Right.
What they might need is someone, maybe they need someone, they'd like to be coached. They'd like to be asked questions. Maybe they know you've been through this situation and they want you to provide your value. Not really that concerned about, not because they're looking for your experience on this. Mm-hmm. And I think in all those situations, we have no idea. And if we guess, which we typically do, and, as with any action, we don't control the results. We don't know the results we're going to get. If you ask, how can I be helpful? They may say, you can't help me with this. I just need somebody to listen. Okay, great. I can listen. Sit here. How long would you like me to listen before we make, and then, because one thing I do know is I'll listen as long as you want me to. I just think that at some point we all get to that point where it's not you getting it out for 30 minutes isn't necessarily helping. Maybe if that's what they need. And you could also be and if that's the case, let me know when you want me to
XYZ.
Right, whatever it might be. Take whatever the next step is.
Tom, I'm going to jump in. Stephen's got a couple comments that we should represent or recognize. You've got to get to the root cause and say that before you can move on. I like that. He also said, Tom is doing a better job than Bob now. And I think that's in handling it, which, yes. And I'm okay with that. And that's part of having a really good friendship and having someone that you respect, that I can come to Tom and say, Tom, this is what happened to me yesterday. I want to figure things out. Can you help me troubleshoot that? Can you help me figure it out so that when it comes up again, because this will come up again, I'm better equipped to handle it.
Although, here's what I would offer. Is every situation the same?
No, it's not. But that doesn't mean we can't start to at least see like, okay, if I go down this path, I know there's a tree ahead of me and I got to bring a saw to cut the tree down, or I got to be ready to climb over it, right?
You know that?
I don't know that, but I can certainly, next time I'm on a path and there's a tree in the way, I can go, oh, I've got my handy saw with me. Or last time I threw a rope up and over it and climbed up the rope and over it, and it worked really well. Let's see if that works this time.
What are you doing again?
I don't know.
You're assuming that be based on the last interaction, the next one's going to be the same.
Right.
Because one of the things that could happen, think about the impact on the other person. They come to you and you listen. Maybe they come to you and say, hey, I have a problem. I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? Sure. Usually we would say sure and stop. What do we say? Sure. How can I be helpful? Well, I would really like you to just listen for a little bit. I'm like, I just need somebody to talk at. Okay, great. Fine. So they do that. You go through that one scenario, and they were impacted by the fact that you were willing to just listen. Didn't try to immediately coach them, consult them, direct them, change them,
problem solve,
say you understand where they're at, or I understand how you're feeling, because we don't. So that they're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. That was an interesting perspective. I was glad that they were willing to do what I needed at the time. So the next time, and you asked, so the next time they come, if you just assume your role is to listen, that you might get to the point where they say, well, aren't you going to say something about this? Provide me some feedback, help me out. I'm looking for advice here. And you're like, oh, so the last time we did this isn't the same as this time?
Right.
And I think one of the other things that happened, what else could you do differently?
My first comment was going to be avoid the whole damn situation.
And how helpful would that be? How much would you learn from that?
Oh, man. That's a comment that's going to get me in trouble. Well, and we can't avoid those situations. If we're in a business setting, if we're in a personal setting, whatever it is, you can't avoid the situation. If someone that you're working with comes to your office and says, hey, Bob, I need to talk to you, you can only put that off for so long. You can't be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm free March 5th, 2024. Doesn't work that way. And so I guess what I could do differently next time is as soon as it got to a place where I got the feeling the person was not talking about a very simple question, I need you to sign my pay stub, or I need you to ask accounting why I didn't get my raise this week. If it's something more than that, where you start to sense that the person's having a emotional response, to maybe frame that and try to get the ground rules established right away. Okay, I can see that you're upset. What are you hoping to accomplish? I'm happy to do whatever you're looking for, but I just want to know what you're looking for so I can listen with that kind of ear. Does that sound reasonable?
Okay. What else could you do?
I don't know, but I love Steven's comment. I think Bob is going to run off and drink a beer after this.
Except
one, I don't like beer, but he's not far off.
Yes. It might be a little early for an old fashioned.
A little orange juice and vodka sounds good right about now.
What else could you do?
I don't know.
So at the end of the first conversation, you could say, I hope that I was helpful and was able to be here for what you needed, what you wanted from me. And I hope that you will feel free to come to me again, whether it's just to listen, or if you would like my thoughts or ideas or feedback, or for me to share my experience, which I'm happy to do. Although I don't want to do that if that's not what you're looking for. That's not what would be helpful.
Right.
And
I think this is also when you're getting to know your employees, or when you're getting to know your vendors. I've had this come up with vendors. I've had this come up with people I'm partnering with. You don't know the rules of the road until you establish them. And you can't plan for every situation.
Wait, what was that you said again?
You can't know the rules of the road. Something about that.
Until you establish them.
And I think where I've often fallen short is I assume that the rules are Bob's rules, rather than I establish them in my head to meet what I think is the right criteria.
Or that is based on someone else's situations you've dealt with.
Yes, or based on what's easy for me sometimes.
No, there's that too.
I think there are times when bosses are like, it's sure, just complain for 20 minutes. All right, great. And thanks. I hope you feel better. Have a good day. Asking the question, how can I help, opens the door to a deeper relationship. It also opens the door to a deeper commitment.
Yes. Here's the other thing I think there's an opportunity to do, especially if you know the person well. And it might be different, might be more in a personal situation rather than a workplace situation. Although this could be in the workplace as well. You could be at the workplace and say, hey, you know what? I've noticed over the past 6 months, these are 3 areas that you've come to me around.
Right.
Maybe it's about learning new systems. Maybe it's about sales calls, and maybe it's about keeping your time organized. And those things have frustrated you. The next time it happens, and I understand that every situation is going to be different, and I'm open to that. How would you like me? What is the most effective way I can be helpful? Typically. And so now you might say, well, they might say, well, geez, I have to think about it. But usually when it's about a sales call, I'm coming in just to gripe and complain because I want someone to listen. Like, oh, okay, great. That's good to know. And, when it's about my time management, I really need some advice. I really need someone. I just don't have the experience to do that. Could you share your wisdom with me? And the third thing, I usually have an idea. I'm just not I'm not sure which one is real for me at the moment. And so it would be great if you could ask me some questions so that I can then figure out for myself how it's going to be most effective for me to move forward. So now you at least have an established thing, and you've already got them, you've put in their head, here's what you are expecting when they come with this issue. So when they come to talk to you about a sales call, your first response is going to be, I'm going to listen. And maybe after 5 minutes you say, or whatever the time frame you've set is, how long is there other ways that I could be helpful?
Right. I like that.
I think there's an opportunity to establish a pattern with them.
And to establish what that next step is.
Correct. With them, not based on someone else's situation and what might be the next step for them. I think that's the key thing is it becomes so easy to generalize. It's one of the things I hate about, and I know people love these, like aptitude tests or, what is your type? Because it's all based on a average of people. It doesn't take into account my individual unique person. And so often we say, oh, you're someone who's a listener or whatever one of those are. And so we make the assumption that in every situation, that's going to be the most effective outcome, instead of taking the time to understand what is it for each of them uniquely, which is also about taking the first step is if you understand where someone is at and where they're trying to go, you can then, and understand how they want to be helped, you can help with the first step. So the first step might be they want to decide it, they want you to help them figure it out, or they just want to run through all the different ideas because it's helpful for them to get that all out. Does that make any sense?
It does. So what's your one thing today, Tom?
So my one thing when I talk about finishing strong and the first step, I think it is being clear on, so let's say it's with someone else's, I'm going to say it's communication. Okay. And that communication might be with yourself. It might be because if I'm trying to think about how am I going to finish strong, I want to have a communication about okay, where is it I really want to go? What is it I really want to do? What is it I'm looking for? And do I need help to do that? That's why I think a lot of people go out and find mentors or coaches so that they have someone they can go to when they're uncertain about that first step. And I think that one of the things that I think gets us in trouble otherwise is when we don't communicate with others as they're trying to figure out their first or their next step. And we presuppose things.
I was going to say the thing I take away from this discussion and the coaching session, which was really useful, is that what worked with other people may or may not work with a new person. And so to assume that just because the person has the same role, if the person is your third accountant, that they may or may not be like the third accountant that left 2 years ago, and they may not be even in marriage. If it may not be like the girlfriend you had in high school who reacted a certain way.
I'm going to say assume that it's not.
Look at you allowing someone to assume. That's new.
Because I think what it really means is you're appreciating that everyone is unique.
Yes.
That's maybe the way I could have said it was.
Yes.
Assume that everyone is,
yes.
Or go that everyone is unique. And so then I'm not even thinking about, it may come into my head and may influence how I interact.
Right.
And yet
you may have an inkling.
I have an inkling, and yet
I've been down a path that looks like this. I see trees down all around. Boy, there's a good chance that there might be a tree down in my path coming ahead.
Yeah,
it doesn't guarantee it's going to happen.
Correct.
But
until it's
I'm certainly noticing signs.
And I think that's the beauty of going in with questions that are very open-ended to say how. And again, can I be helpful, or how can I help? And I think, hopefully you can see the difference between help and need.
Yes. Yes.
So.
All right, folks. Well, you saw what coaching looks like. Notice Tom didn't provide me any answers. He mostly asked me questions and helped me clarify my own thinking. If you're someone who's looking for that in your life, if it's something that can help you with your business, we would love to talk to you about what that might look like. And I should say, Tom, I just heard the other day, my coach actually said to a group of us that Tiger Woods, when he was learning, when he first became really popular and really good, I didn't know this, but he got a coach and they completely disintegrated his swing. He started from square one because his swing was not a swing that would be sustainable for 20 years. And he knew, he's like, okay, I can play really good golf, but I'm not going to be able to do it for a long time unless we go back to square one. So here's a guy who's the best golfer in the world saying, I need to break everything down and be coached into being even greater. Mm-hmm. And that really struck me as, wow, okay, if Tiger Woods needed coaching, I kind of need a coach. And I think most of us can benefit from a coach.
I would agree. All right, everyone, if you have one thing you'd like to share around this, please feel free to share it in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast where there is no opportunity to comment, please feel free to join us in one of our groups. If you're a LinkedIn person, go to Renegade Success Network for Leaders. If you're a Facebook person, you can join us in our Ring of Renegades Facebook group and share your thoughts and ideas there. Because in both places, there are people who are looking to not only find value to help them take their next step, and also to share their value to help others take their next step. So we look forward to seeing you inside of either one of those groups, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time for Bob's favorite day of the week.
Yes.
Our discoveries of the week.
Yes.
You might want to start thinking about what have you discovered. So we look forward to seeing you then. So thanks for being with us today. Have a great day.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. It's in you. Go for it.
I like that. And go thank a teacher.
And thank you.
Or
several.
Or several. That'd be great. All right, everyone, go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.